Welcome to the No Pressure, No Diamonds podcast, where entrepreneurs come to harness their struggles, doubt, fear, negativity, and setbacks. They place pressure on the blessing of adversity to become the strong, fearless, excited, passionate winner they were destined to be. A diamond.
The legendariness is flowing.
Yeah.
But guess what, man? We back once again. My name is Alex Rose. I got my boy
Tommy Solano. I say it different every time too, bro. It just,
yeah, well, accent with it this time.
I threw it in there.
Yeah. Man, we here with the No Pressure, No Diamonds podcast, man. Super excited about today's episode. We have an amazing special guest in here, business extraordinaire. Personal, everything he does, man, is so great. He helps people. He personally develops people.
Yep.
Builds business, builds brands, and in multiple fields as well. And he makes it look so easy. He makes it look so simple. Makes it look so smooth. What does this guy do? Floats like a butterfly. And also, as a great family life, takes care of his family. Man, is literally the go-to person for his family. Man, which is just an amazing, I wouldn't say footsteps to have, man, and for his family, the way he leads. So I'm so excited to have this guest here, Mr. Itibari Zulu. How's it going, sir?
Amazing. I'm glad that I got on the No Pressure, No Diamonds.
There it is. He got his deal voice going.
Yeah,
got the deal.
in the inception of this.
Yep.
That's it, man.
Excited to be here today.
Appreciate it, man. So we're gonna kick it off here. Today's real topic is really gonna be about leadership, developing people, right? In order to develop people, you have to develop yourself. And we'll kind of pass questions around here too. But now tell people a little bit about your background, kind of where you're from, how you ended up, in business, and then we'll take it from there.
Nice. So I always tell people there's a couple different stories depending on, who I'm catering towards in the moment, but they all happen. So first, I generally start off with just background when it comes to family. I had parents in education. They told me go to school, get the degrees, get a good education so that way you can get a good job. So I ended up following suit, ended up with a couple pieces of paper, thought all the money was going to come running. The only thing that came running was student loans. Okay. Debt.
Ooh.
Right. And that's part of my background. Also, I used to compete in the martial arts professionally on that end. And, that was exciting. Played some college football, all of that. So they all kind of led me, to this point. But the first real job I had was it was like a warehouse type gig. Okay. Great experience. Why? Because I know I'd never do nothing like that ever again in my life. Felt like I was getting dumber by the minute. Right. Man. So I had that scenario, and this is the first time I had, I heard about a union and stuff like this, and them trying to get you to operate a certain way, almost like brainwashing. They had us watch a video and saying, hey, unions are bad. If they're coming in, they're doing this. And I was like, oh, no, I'm out of here. So that next day I quit, right? So I quit that job, left and went to PC Club Computers. It was building, selling computers. Knew nothing about computers at that time, but I knew I didn't want to be dusty and dirty every single day like I was.
Yeah.
So when I went from that standpoint over there, I realized it was just another number. So I remember being in a standpoint where it's like you're busting your butt trying to work up that corporate ladder just for you basically to get pissed on. That's really what it was. At the end of the day, that's what it was. Because I remember this guy, I still remember him. His name is Adrian. He was about 5'0", right? And the guy says, he walks in, he said, hey, someday you could be like me if you're lucky. I make $80,000 a year, right? And you guys know
that really happened.
Yes.
That's a movie.
Yeah, like a movie. Bro. Okay.
Yeah, it really
like
happened. And so he walks in, and then I'm thinking like, because he was like the 5th or 7th employee hired for this company or whatnot. And the story gets better, on here. But I wasn't one of those people that were a good butt kisser, basically.
See?
I know, there it goes, huh?
Nah, you good, you
Business is calling.
good. Always, man.
That's funny. So I wasn't one of those people that was a good butt kisser. So it was one of those things where I would give people respect that were giving me respect, basically. So this guy didn't like that I didn't basically bow down because he walked in the door. Number one, I didn't know who the heck he was. Didn't really matter, you know. And I remember the first time I seen him, he came in the store, and because I didn't have this like, oh my gosh, this guy walked in the door, he didn't like it. And probably because I'm twice his size, you know.
Man.
I'm about 6'2", so he was, you know, about 4 foot, I think. You know?
You would have had to take the floor down a couple feet.
Man.
So
See eye to eye.
I think he had a problem with that. He had a problem with that, you know. So it already started off on the wrong foot. And the manager there, I knew the manager. He's the one that hired me, and he didn't tell me until like 6-7 months later that the guy told him to fire me that first day that he met me. But the manager never told me because we were friends, right? And he just told me, hey, you know, read some books, you know, try to do better and all this stuff, because he didn't have the heart to tell me that the guy wanted to fire me. And so I, just because of him, I said, okay, you know what, I'll try to work harder or whatnot. So I became number one in the region for the first 90 days, let's say, right? So I was number one sales margin. That was the biggest, the profit part for the company. And I figured, okay, I'll work hard and then try to get a raise. So I'm number one in the region, and I go get the raise. Now I'm in Palmdale location, and the home office is in Studio City, right? No, City of Industry. That's what it was. City of Industry.
Man, that's deep in the LA.
Yeah. So if you think about it, from Palmdale to City of Industry,
Drive sucks.
yeah. So I thought, because I did the research, people were making about $12 to $14 an hour more than I was making. They were producing what we were producing in that location. So I'm thinking I'm going to get I feel like I'm a
significant bump. Yeah.
I don't know if you guys had that scenario where you're like working and you're like, oh, you know what? They're going to take care of me because I'm doing right by them. So I go there. You guys know what my my raise was?
50 cents.
Listeners guess.
yeah, they guess. You guys know, right?
Oh, man.
A quarter, right?
Ah, dang.
A straight up quarter. Yeah, I wish I could have made this stuff up.
Like $2.50?
No, a quarter.
That's disrespectful.
Yeah.
Utter disrespect.
So imagine you driving. It cost me more to go over there just in gas to get there. Right. So at that point, I realized that no one was going to pay me what I was worth. Right. I didn't know how it was going to happen, but I knew no one was going to pay me what I was worth at that point. Right. So from there, I had my first paradigm shift. And then I had my buddy that was a computer tech there. And he was the research guy. So his first thing was like, all right, let me go find different ways. We were talking like, man, they're screwing us here. How are we going to make money? So our whole thing was we need to make $100 a day. Right. So we need to make $100 a day.
Why that number?
Just because at that point we weren't making $100 a day. So to make $100 a day was just a round number. I guess it seemed good at that time.
Right. Okay.
Outside of whatever the job income was. So we'll see how censored this one is. We got full disclosure.
Everything, man. You good, man. Okay. There's no limits on the no pressure. No
okay.
Come on, baby.
So there used to be, and then I was like, this is like early 20s, right? So this
statute
is how
of limitations.
Yeah, statute of limitations. Here. We're here. We there now, right?
The PC Club is out of business, man. Anyway.
And that's what happened. So the guy,
so I got my give the right people the right money.
There you go. So or recognize real talent. That's at the end of the day. So over there used to be people that like the bootleggers and all this type of stuff. We had one of the first standalone machines. So they would come in and duplicate a bunch of CDs. So they used to pay us to use the machines.
Oh, to burn like copies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we were the first one that had to build the standalone. So we had all the movies, all the other stuff. I remember one of the guys selling Matrix, right? A crappy copy for $120 to one of the bootleggers. $120
slinging dope.
right?
Damn.
Why? Because he was like, you know, you're gonna go make $1,000 on this. So what's $120? So literally one DVD, $120, and the guy had to buy it, right? So I started paying attention to these things. Then
The
we,
hustle.
yeah, we started buying stuff. Like I might buy parts, maybe spend $200 on some parts for a computer. At that time, to get a desktop, it was a couple $1,000 to get the nice one with all the, you know, the motherboards that you want, the RAM and all this stuff. It adds up. So a lot of people are like, hey, you know what? We can't afford that, this and that. So if they seem cool, right, then we would give them a discount. If they seem like a jerk, guess what? It was doubling and tripling up the price. That's what it was in there. So what happened is we learned that, hey, you know what? We'll just buy the stuff wholesale, put it together, just as good of a system, but we might charge like $600, $700, right? And it might cost us $100. Statute of limitations.
You created the middleman.
There you go. So this is how we were always making at least $100 each. I forgot to say that. So we had to make $100 each a day. So when we went, I remember this is how I found out that if you don't cash a check by a certain time, it's not going to be good. So we went, both of us went about 7 or 8 checks where we didn't cash our work check.
They was in there going hell.
I didn't even need that money.
We didn't even cash our work check, and it was like, oh, it's going to expire. You know, we're like, what? You know, so this is when I started getting that entrepreneurial spirit of having money work for me or me being more effective
Right.
with the time. So I was at a job, right? Some people that know me now, they don't never believe that I ever had a job, but I had a job before, right? And this is what I learned. Then what really tipped it off, it's like, okay, what's supply and demand? Okay, I was never into doing drugs or something like that, right? Or selling drugs or nothing like that. But
That business works the same, by the way.
pretty much, right?
Statute of limitations.
There you go. So
I know nothing about it. I know nothing about it. I've heard.
So it was the fireworks. Okay. So he went in, this guy was like, you know, he just loved all the fireworks stuff, you know, the shows. And I won't say what cities, you know, we were at, whatnot. But anyways, he found where to get the fireworks pretty cheap. Mm-hmm. So he spent like $1,200 on his credit card and was like, man, he came back to work. He's like, Zulu, you know, I slipped up, man. I spent all this money on you know, fireworks. And now like my cards ran up. I got to get rid of some of this stuff. So he started making calls. And this is all at work. All right. And then I'm like, I see half the days going by and he's just selling stuff. And I'm like, you know what? And this time I was a big baller. So I had a whopping $62 in my pocket, right? So that $62, I gave him the $62, like, give me whatever you got for $62. So I go next door. There's the
Flipped it for 150.
182.
182.
$182. There's a skateboard shop next door. Those guys are big now. You know, they're actually a big brand now.
Oh, you were in the mall?
I wasn't at the mall, but they had their first shop before the mall.
Oh, okay.
This was before before they got the mall location. They were next door to us. So I go over there and I come back and I got $182. And then at the end of the day, this is throughout the workday. He's like, bro, I don't have any more stuff. I was like, light bulb, let's go back. Right? So we go out there again. I got, I think I had like $600. So we come back, my $600 turns into like $4,000, right? Then I go back, I spend another $2,400. My $2,400 turned into $16,000, right? We were making like $1,500 a day when it came closer to,
Yeah, it was out there wild.
Yeah. And it took years for people to stop calling me in the summer. I was probably not doing it for at least 5 years, and I was still getting calls. You know, I've never seen anything like that.
Got them mortars? Hey man, you got them mortars?
Yeah, you got like, it's crazy. People coming, driving from everywhere. So that showed me about distribution.
Mm-hmm.
And then you got to get out there with the people, right? And then, but I realized I needed to do it. Then it became where it was like a misdemeanor to some people getting felonies because what happens when you start something, then people start trying to pick up and they start biting and they don't have the same principles. So what happens? They screw the game up for everybody.
Oh, they start cutting everything up.
Yeah.
You know, cutting it with flour.
There you go. Right.
Hey, what you talking about?
So that's what happens, right?
Cutting with sugar.
So now you got all these knuckleheads out there, and then now, you know, they kind of burn the whole thing type deal, right? So I stopped dealing with all of that or whatnot, but then I was still looking for the feeling of being able to progress, right? Because at that time, making $1,500 a day, I mean, I felt like I was doing something.
Yeah, that's sexy.
You know, and I was
For a 20-something especially.
Yeah, I was what, maybe 23, you know, somewhere around there. And then I was fighting professional too, you know, so I just knew that I wanted to be in the suit by the time I was 25 though. You know, that was like me growing up, you know. So I had a friend that told me that they were expanding, went to an overview, never came back and never clocked in for anybody ever again, right? I seen people that seemed like they had control over their life. They seemed like they were having fun and they seemed like they was making money. You know, had no clue what the hell was going on in there.
But it didn't matter.
It didn't matter because I knew what I wanted. I knew what I wanted. It didn't even matter what they were talking about. Quite frankly, if it would have been totally explained to me, all the stuff that they had to do and taking tests and all that, I probably wouldn't have done it. That's the scary part. I probably wouldn't have done it if I would have actually known the detail of what it was,
process
going on.
Yeah. The requirements or whatever.
Yeah. So that's kind of how it kind of happened for me. You know, there's a lot of things that attribute to it. My parents had a shop. My mom made more money on the weekend from her store. She had an African store. She made more money on the weekend, and she was a teacher during the week. And I would have to go there, and she was like, "Smile, put that smile on your face." Pimping me out because I'm getting, I'm getting $20. She just didn't made, $5,000. So I get $20, right? And I better keep a smile on my face. But it was the customer service, so I seen that happen. It was built in my subconscious, not knowing it. And I would see my parents like speaking at events and stuff like that. So it's one of those things that, not knowing it, I was actually being groomed, and it was in my blood to do what I do.
You were pulling from different, experiences, I guess you could say, but you had some examples around you and stuff. And then at what point did you feel, or do you feel, that you put all of that stuff together to get you now?
I'm still putting it together.
Still putting it together. Okay. I knew you were going to say that. I wanted that nugget for those that are listening.
Yeah.
Like it's a never ending process. Is that fair to say?
Oh, absolutely. 100%, 1,000%. So one of my affirmations that I use now daily, and I just started doing it this year, is I'm better today. So when I get up and doing my thing, washing my face, putting water on my face, I'm like, I'm better today. Because I know that if I got to run my race, everybody got to run their race. So if I'm just better than I was the day before, I'm winning. You can't stop me. I'm all the way up.
Yeah.
Hey, I like that song.
I know, man. We will play it, but copyright, we can't do it.
Yeah.
Nah, man. But I think what that made me realize is environment, has a lot to do with everything, man. Being in the right environment, and maybe it wasn't direct; it was indirect. It was a bunch of indirect things that you pulled from that, and you ended up utilizing. Maybe because your parents had a shop. You realize supply and demand. Like, shoot, like you said, my mom was making $5,000 on the weekend, and that was what she was making all month at her job. And just the thought process of that, and what people can realize is just like, look, man, there's opportunity out there as long as you look for it.
100%.
Yeah, his observation. There's also a self-awareness that he attached to that too, because you said something that I don't know if I've ever heard you say that, but maybe I have. But you said by 25, I wanted to be in a suit. That's very specific, right?
Yeah.
And so you attributed success with a certain, with a suit, right?
So I got to make sure I put a blazer on for y'all.
Right. But there was self-awareness there. What I caught from all of those stories is that there was some realization. I realized this. I realized I didn't want to be dirty and dusty. I realized that I was never going to get paid what I was worth. I realized that there was opportunity out there. I realized supply and demand. So there was a self-awareness coupled with your observation skills that you started to like connect the dots. And that, I mean, to me, that's fascinating because in my 20s, Zoo, I kind of hustled and stuff too. Not as legal, you know, as
you mean more illegal?
more illegal probably, but you know, but I always loved that aspect too. I loved understanding that, you know, there's a way to do it. You know, and all business I started looking at is kind of done the same way.
Yep.
All of it across the board. That's why, you know, Jigga Man is experiencing the success, right? Like the real hustlers, you know, they kind of get it and stuff. So
it take the same work, you know, the same kind of desire, focus. And, you know, when you got somebody that's on the streets every day, they're worried about their life. So think about the intensity that they're operating on. So that kind of intensity applied to like legitimate business, like you can't fail.
Yeah. Well, and the reinvestment, right? And so many people in their 20s or younger people, right? There's so many people that would take that money and be like, damn, today was a win, maybe go spend it. And then the next day try to figure out like,
start from zero.
Yeah, exactly. Right. But you didn't do that. You said, man, I took $62, turned it into 182. And then that 182 turned into 600. You took that 600 and doubled it up or tripled it up. Right.
Yeah.
And so that reinvestment too, like these are all principles that apply to everything. I hear Gary Vee talk about that all the time. He's like, stop taking money out. Stop
spending
buying
all your profit.
Stop buying the nice cars and stuff and reinvest it into your business.
Own the car lot.
Yeah, exactly. Stop buying the cars, right? Own the lot. I love that. You mentioned mixed martial arts, and you didn't dive into that too much, but in entrepreneurship, what was the lesson you learned from mixed martial arts as far as competition? And how have you used that in, you know, what you're currently doing in the business world?
If it's going to be, it's up to me, right? So, you know, I think the mindset of things, and we talk about intensity level. I don't like getting hit in the face, right? Probably nobody. I mean, maybe some people do, but I wasn't.
Yeah,
you know.
That masochist.
Yeah, I just wasn't. I wasn't into that Rocky stuff.
Choke me.
You know, like, oh, let's get all bloody and, you know, that wasn't how I got down.
Tit for tat.
No, it was tit tat and then hit the ground. Yeah. You know, that was about it. So one of the things how I was trained, you know, my sensei, some people probably didn't take it that well, but fortunately I was one of them that did, because I was 12 years old and had zero fear in fighting a grown man, 30 years old, right? And felt that he was going to get worked, you know, and that was my attitude, especially by the time I was 15, because it was the confidence. He told me, hey, I remember in a tournament, I think I was like 17, and I was fighting in the adult league. 16 or 17, I was fighting in adult league, right? And he's like, look, your name is Zulu. You're dark skinned. They fear you. And I'm like, okay. Right. And then it got into that mindset, you know. So what happened is I had the mindset, I didn't think about losing. Right. I had the mindset of my job is to embarrass you and destroy you. Yeah. Because you stepped in the ring, that was disrespectful. It was my job to teach you a lesson that your kids gonna remember. You know, and I probably went about a 3.5 year span where I didn't even come close to losing the fight. You know, if someone got a hit on me, then like the people that are around me, they'll be clowning. And like literally today, one of my buddies, and you know, Alex knows one of them with the cars. They would still tease me about a guy that I knocked out, right? You know, that was one of the last professional fights I had. Knocked the guy out cold, but they used the little salt thing to wake him up and all that. And the guy like literally rose up like a zombie, right? You guys seen Deontay Wilder and what's the name?
Tyson Fury.
Yeah. So this guy, you know how Tyson Fury, it seemed like this guy just rose up like a vampire, like literally after they put the salt on him. So how many times have you ever seen someone use the salt to wake somebody up and then they have them start fighting again?
So normally when you get the salt, you're on your way to the ambulance.
Exactly. So they had us fighting again. They had us fighting again, right? And I'm thinking, well, I'm not trying to go to jail today by hitting this guy wrong or whatever. So I'm just kind of taking it easy. And this guy's just kind of going. So they ended up giving him the match.
Oh, damn.
I wasn't supposed to win. There was a lot of politics going on, you know, that I didn't know of at the time. But they teased me about that for like years on. And literally
About the loss?
yeah, oh, you got beat up by the guy, right? You know, they would call him Cobra Kai guy because they had to cut off sleeves and all that stuff. But literally, I knocked him out cold, right? So me getting touched was like a win
For the other person.
for the person, you know. So that was just the standard to what it was. Second place, it was a loss. You know what I mean? And what I think I realized was the mindset was, did I deserve to win? And there was no way that that person should even think that they could win against me. So translating that into business, right? I think is when I know I'm on my game, then I'm gonna get done whatever I got to get done. All right. The part that that's probably what was easier in the martial arts than doing business, because a lot of times in business you're orchestrating other folks and other people.
Correct.
You know,
Yeah,
so that's the part that's a little bit tougher, you know, to do. But yeah, that's probably one of the biggest things I would say is just the mindset of you're only going to get what you feel you deserve, right? And then you got to trust your training. If you're around the right people, you got the right kind of you know, content or whatnot, tools, use them. I remember this guy that I fought I probably fought at like 215, 220 was my weight. But I fought this guy that was like 315, right? And he was doing this hammer fist and he was just crushing people with like one blow type deal. And I was thinking, dang, I don't want to get hit by this dude. And all week my sensei had me doing this reverse punch with the left hand, and I'm right-handed. So I'm like, why is this is like offhand? Why would I be practicing that? Literally, it came out and dropped this dude with the midsection, you know, shot with my left hand, and he's on the ground. And I'm thinking like, oh man. After that, I know you got to trust the system. If you got a system, trust the system.
There it is.
There you go.
There it is.
Sometimes you don't know why you
Wax on, wax off, huh?
You have no idea until you know what I'm saying?
Defense.
Yep. Wax stuff.
Up,
down.
That's fire, man.
Yeah,
That's
really
fire.
was.
Nah, man, because you know that kind of leads into, well, it may lead into this next question, but the first major challenge of when you have to start leading people,
Other than the person himself.
you know, is you know, so what is that major challenge? Because people are ready to go. So you have people that are ready to, you know, or they think they're ready to go.
Yeah.
You know,
Are they
all
committed
the right
or are they
intentions.
interested?
Well, there you go.
I did tell somebody that this morning, you know, and I give this to, you know, Tina. That was her comment she made. But some people are interested in being successful. It sounds good, you know, to live this fancy lifestyle or have all these different things and people know you or have a big bank account. It sounds very interesting. But how many people are actually committed to getting those things done? You know, that's a separator. Are you committed or are you just interested in having success?
What are some of those things that make somebody, that gives you the clue that this person's a committed person?
They don't necessarily always, I hate to say that they don't ask why, but if they understand there's a standard, they don't try to negotiate standard.
Mm. Damn. Interesting.
They don't try to negotiate a standard. People that are interested, they want to negotiate a standard for success. They want to try to find a shortcut. They're like, oh, well, if I could just do it this way, well, they're trying to look at every excuse not to fully do what they got to go do. So they want to negotiate a standard.
Mm. Have you ever done that in your entrepreneurial journey?
Negotiated a standard?
Yeah.
Let's see. I'm trying to think of something that pops in my head, so I'm telling the truth. That might tell you something if I'm having a hard time thinking about it. But let's see. Have I ever negotiated a standard for success? Right? Is that the question?
I think that was your statement.
A statement. Yeah.
How do we find
success.
out who is committed? And you said they don't negotiate standards.
Yeah. So it's kind of like, I'll give you an example. If you're in a business and they're like, okay, you got to go to these events. You should be going to all the events. Like, you know what? I don't think I need to go to this event. I'm not going to go. Then I can say, no, I haven't, if that's the case. If it's like, do I need to fill out all these different papers? Or I could do this one has less paperwork, maybe on that end. But not necessarily when it comes to the principles of success.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, because I don't know. I thought of like I don't know why people's faces just pop into your head. You just thinking stuff like, oh man, that's just crazy. But that's interested versus committed. Interested versus committed, man. I think like you said, it all sounds good, but like you said, you got to do the work.
And human nature, just for most people, it's not allowed, right? Like they're not made up that way. They have the capacity, I think, and I'm speaking for myself on so many different things too. Like last year I had a goal of dropping 50 pounds and I only made it to like 15, and then I put like 12 of them back on, you know what I mean? And
you still got 3?
Yeah,
count your wins.
Celebrate that little win, huh? But I think it's profound in what you say, because it's applied all across the board, and a lot of people make a habit out of that a lot of the time, right? And it's probably why so many people struggle when going into business, is because they've struggled to actually lose the weight, they've struggled to actually quit smoking, they've struggled to like keep their word on not drinking or whatever the case may be, and they're fascinated by the end result, but lack the discipline to commit to the process.
Right. And I'll tell you one thing that kind of comes over me right now. It's like, do you want to be a winner or you want to be a loser? Do you want to be a winner or do you want to be a loser? One of my favorite movies, American Gangster. He said, you got somebodies and you got nobodies. Right? Now, as a human being, to respect everybody as a human being,
sure,
as their well-being,
sure,
yes. But guess what? Everybody's not cut equally when it comes to their desire.
Right.
Dang, that's a fact. That's a fact, man.
Hey, where do you cut the line off? Because you had said something. My bad, Alex, dude. I have to get thoughts out before I lose them. But where do you cut the line, or where do you make the distinction between? Because you had said if you're trying to make shortcuts or create shortcuts. So what is the difference between being innovative and taking shortcuts?
Yeah, I think I got you. So there's one thing of being more efficient.
Okay.
If you're looking for efficiency and it becomes shorter because it's more efficient,
right?
That is still on the principles, because you're supposed to make it as best as you can possibly make it, right? But now taking a shortcut just because it's like, okay, someone build your house, but they're like, and I ain't gonna put that.
We ran out of nails. Give me the glue.
Give me some glue. Put it up in there and put it in there. That's a shortcut,
right? Okay.
So what happens at the end of the day? That bad boy falls apart, and now you got a lawsuit. Now it's a bigger problem.
It's like kicking the can.
Exactly. So that's the shortcut to where versus I'm just trying to find more efficient ways to be more effective. And that's more of the innovative, which we should be. Just like, in business now, it's like we zooming and booming.
Right.
So I can get to 10 times the amount of people than I normally would have.
Right. In a fraction of the time.
Yeah. In a fraction of the time. So that's just I look at that as being more innovative and effective with the time, to where, you guys know on that end, like, I don't think it'll ever be this. And there's no reason for it to ever go back to the way it was maybe a couple of years ago about the way that people go about doing appointments.
Right. Quote unquote normal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whatever normal is.
Yeah, exactly.
It's being rewritten.
Welcome to the No Pressure, No Diamonds podcast, where entrepreneurs come to harness their struggles, doubt, fear, negativity, and setbacks. They place pressure on the blessing of adversity to become the strong, fearless, excited, passionate winner they were destined to be. A diamond.
Man, welcome back, man. We back. Exactly. You know what I'm saying? Welcome back, man. No Pressure, No Diamonds, man. Appreciate you for sticking around. Back to it. Man, we were just talking about a whole lot of stuff, man, but we just ended off with something pretty interesting, man. It's teaching your next generation about utilizing their time the best and being the most efficient in distribution. The proper way, man. So it was pretty interesting, man. So both of you had a story about it during the break. Mine
was just theory, and Zulu's was application, right? But talking about how those the concepts apply across the board, doesn't matter. So you want to share that story? That'd be cool.
Yeah, definitely. So my son, because proximity, environment, my son's 5 years old, right? And then he, I've seen him like, oh, I want a suit like dad, right? He's, I'm a businessman. So it's funny what you hear. And Alex is, he's like, yeah, no, I'm the boss, right? Like, he's going around telling his mom that, and she's like, no, but he said, no, I'm the boss. And then dad's the boss of you. I'm the boss of her,
Oh my God.
of his sister. And so it's hilarious, but so he has that confidence of like, yeah, I run the show, and I'm the boss. So he tells my wife that he wants to do a lemonade stand. I don't know where he got it from, but he wanted to do a lemonade stand. So he's like, yeah, can you do it? So it's like 2 days in a row, he's asking me, and I'm like, all right, fine. So he gets the stand, we get the jar, help him make the lemonade and all that stuff. And then the next day he's out there. And then there's a lot of kids and people in the neighborhood. So he has it, he makes his sign. So we got him up there, got him set up. So he's got it for 50 cents. I think he's selling it for 50 cents. And, maybe the bottle costs, who knows, to get the powder and the lemons, maybe less than $5, right? So he's got the stand there. He goes and recruits a couple of his friends. So this is distribution, right? So they go knock on different doors telling people, hey, there's lemonade. So you got all these they're a little bit older than him. They're probably like maybe 7, 6 and 7. Maybe the oldest is 8. So they're going around to the parents and they're going around to all the doors, knocking on the doors, telling them there's free lemonade. So obviously what do most people do? If you're a parent, you're coming out, you feel kind of cheap if you're putting 50 cents. So most of them gave him like $2. Oh, give me 2 drinks and I'll give you $2. Right. So this is kind of what happened like maybe 3-4 times at least.
That's only because we're in the right area, bro. Because if we were where we used to be, I'll give you a quarter.
Exactly. Right?
I buy 5 cups, man. If I give you 75
Target market.
Yeah, man.
There it is.
Target market.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. That is key. Right? He's in the right neighborhood. I live in a gated community, right over there. So it's target market. So he probably made like $25 in about less than an hour, from that standpoint, having his jar. And then even, just for, perception, look and all that, he had his sign. So that way they knew how much it was, had his little blanket there, but he went and got his jar. So it didn't look like it was his first customer that already had money in there. Right?
I've been doing this.
Right? So that way it's like, oh, okay, I'm not just the first person on here. And then there's a crowd. There's a line there, right? And then the friends that were knocking on the doors, then after he gives them a drink, so they can get paid and they get a free drink, at the end of the day. So, when it comes
a fresh
to that,
cup for your troubles.
yes, there you go. Freshly squeezed.
There you go.
High profit.
Man,
right?
I love it.
So it's the next generation. They
That's
watching.
what I'm talking about.
And then they get to grow up in that environment of seeing it and winning,
I love the distribution. Yeah,
100%.
Yeah, my boys out
So
there.
I don't know if you and your wife have had this conversation. I mean, I would imagine you have, but me and my wife have, and I think she used to be more or farther away from this idea than she is now. But how do you feel about college versus entrepreneurship? Do you think that you should actually go to school and further your education, or do you think that like what your son's doing? I'd have a hard time imagining that at some point he'd want to go to school if he's going to continue to experience success, at least like long term. Like, how do you feel about that? Because you got those pieces of paper, you said.
Yes, I do. I grew up in that era, you're around my age too. So same thing where the degrees were valued at a certain statute, and I think I was at the tail end of just because you got a degree that it means something, that you're at this status, let's say.
Right.
Doesn't mean that it doesn't have value, because obviously you want to be a doctor, you still gonna have to go get those pieces of paper.
That's required for
You
sure.
want to be a lawyer, you're gonna have to do that, right? Or you go own the law firm, or you can own the medical facility and hire a doctor and save yourself 12 years, right? So I did learn that one too.
Wait, what would you call that?
Distribution, baby.
What would you call the owner? What's the owner doing in that business, Zulu? There's a key word. I think you're going to get it.
Well, it could be a couple of things.
Yeah, for sure.
Right. But it's just ownership. It's ownership, and how they say you get the A students working for the C students type concept. The C student realizes, you know what, I'm not the smartest one, so let me just go find those smartest people, and they're creative, right?
Yeah.
So let me go get those people to start working for me, and get that going. So that's kind of what happens. But it's just distribution. And I had a buddy that told me this. He was like, look, you could be in the medical field and you ain't got to go to 12 years of school. Just get the facility, you got the money, you hire doctors and have them run it. Partner up with them. And that's what happens with most things that are going on. You might have somebody who has the talent and the pieces of paper, but they don't have the funding or maybe even the network.
Or the vision.
Even more so, probably the vision.
Right. That's a great point, brother.
If you don't have, look, we'll stop on that point real quick, right? We'll stop there and sit there for a second. If you don't have vision, you're going to work for somebody who does. That's it. Either if you don't have vision, you're going to work for somebody who does. That's it.
Have you seen, I'm pretty sure you have, this is so real. Have you seen that meme? And it's talks about like this employee sees their boss pull up in a like Lamborghini.
Yeah.
And they're like, man, that's such a nice car. He says, yeah, if you work real hard and do everything that we tell you to do, I'll be able to get another one. I'm like, damn, that's cold. Yeah. That's exactly what you're talking about.
That's what it is. My son, like how he picked up on that. That's what it is. So, the school thing, I think education is key.
Sure.
But
100%.
does education solely means that I got accepted into an institution to me anymore? No. And
I don't like the word institution anyway. I don't even like that word.
Prison, right?
Institutionalized.
I mean, you owe them after, most people.
You're in a financial prison.
You know how many people I've sat down with that they're in their 50s plus and they still owe student debt?
Or talking about going and taking another class so they can defer it?
Yeah.
Okay. I see that
so
all the time.
it's just nuts. American nightmare for a lot of folks.
Right.
So when it comes to that standpoint, I think the tip that I'm on, and I think anybody can be, is create it. Education is key. Information is key. But guess what? Create it. He's going to go to the school of Hard Knocks of Zulu Empires, Truth Legacy, and whatever else we got going on.
Word.
Creating that platform, that bubble, so our kids got those opportunities. When you got these families that people know, it's not because of the school they went to, it's because what the families created.
Mm-hmm.
That they created that bubble for them. Okay, so I got it going on with my daughter now. My daughter's she's graduated high school now, and it was that moment, like, oh, you're going here, you're going this. She wants to get into acting, right? She's starting to do acting. She's doing those gigs. Is that going to be a maker or breaker if she goes to college? Not really in there. What is more valuable? Me having her be around folks that are very successful in that particular business, or me spend $70,000 a year for her to talk to people who didn't make it in business? And to each his own. But I don't really buy into, well, just go and you'll figure it out along the way and just kind of sit there and burn up time, right? Because I was one of those where I went all the way through school just because you're supposed to do it. That was just my thing,
right? That
I was taught. But it wasn't until my senior year, the last semester, that I started doing some real due diligence and trying to find out, how do I make the most money doing what I'm with this degrees I'm about to have, right? And I didn't like my answer. But why did I have to wait 4 years
to figure that out?
Yeah. To me, I was like, that was just silly, but I didn't know any different. I found out that, okay, in that field, to make the most money, you need to be drugging up kids. And I wasn't down with that. That's what I figured out. It was prescriptions.
See, Zulu got a strong moral compass, and that's why we're having him. One of the major reasons why, we rock with him.
Can't do it.
That's a fact.
So,
and so what could somebody do today that's what could somebody do today if they're like on the fence, right? Because there's people on the fence, like I want to do this career, like they're on the career fence or the entrepreneurial fence, or they're leaning on both sides. You know what I'm saying? Like, man, I want the safety of a career, but man,
here's the thing. I think it should be congruent. Okay. Yeah. So like if we're talking about career, we're talking about job, or are we talking about business? Like we got to define which one it is, You can be working as an employee somewhere, but if it's working in the field that you're trying to be entrepreneurial in, then I don't think there's no problem with that. But if you're working serving tables somewhere, right, or you're shoveling boxes somewhere, and you're like, hey, I'm trying to be a truck driver, or you want to be in the distribution of oranges, whatever. They have nothing to do with each other, let's say, right? Whatever it may be. Okay, so they need to be congruent, basically. Right. So if I'm somebody who wants to be in a business where it's about people and it's about networking and bringing in clients and doing all that type of stuff, the worst thing I could be doing is doing a job that's just isolating me away from everything and just data entry somewhere. You know what I'm saying? Because it's not enhancing my skill. So if you're someone who has to do a sales job, or you're trying to do a business that sells, then go work sales for somebody. You know what I mean? Because you're getting your skill together, or you're on the phone.
And you're getting paid to learn how to do it.
Exactly. That's the problem that people have. They do stuff that has nothing to do with where the direction they're trying to go,
i.e. college.
Yeah.
How many people come out of college and they're like, working at Starbucks? I'm like, why are you here? And they're like, well, I realized I didn't want to actually do what I learned to do.
Yeah, man. I was literally just talking to somebody today that just graduated from school, $100,000 in debt, and is like, you know what? I didn't really want to do that anyway, and is about to go back into school. Literally, is like tabling the idea of going back into school, which is another $120,000 for like some type of I forget what it was. But literally like at least another $100,000 just to get a different degree. Cause like, man, you know what? I don't want to do that now. I want to do this. But they're like wrestling with the fact like, dude, I don't want to have to pay like student loans. I'm already way behind. You know, I just got out from all this stuff.
It's been a crutch for people now. You know, to your point, I notice it's been a crutch for a lot of people now. It's like, oh, I'm going to go back to school because you don't know what to do. So you're going to go back to school and go create more debt versus going and finding people who actually do what you think you might want to go do and find out if that's really what you want to do.
Yeah, give it a try, right?
Go find them. If you want to be a doctor, go shadow a doctor.
Mm-hmm.
Work for free for somebody. I would prefer to work for free for somebody who's doing something that I want to do and learn that game than go work for. It's like business school. People go to business school to learn from somebody who ain't never had a business or a successful business. How much sense does that make?
Zero. Look, I want to make a whiskey, man. That's why I drink all kinds of like different, whiskey. I got to give them a try.
So now you got to get to the wine and spirits business. Yeah. You got to find people who do it.
I have. I have been. Yeah, I've been picking some brains and taking some notes and stuff.
And then that's and how that works. I've been finding out about that side.
Yep.
But yeah, just get in the sphere of where you want to go. It's like we talk about associations, environments. Yeah, it's key. Like you're saying, okay, our kids live in a certain environment. Yeah, it is. It's totally different than where we grew up.
Yep.
But that's why they're supposed to get different.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think any good man, and you're obviously a great one, wants their family to level up generation after generation. Like it should be about progression. So I 100% agree with you about that. With that being said, I'm gonna go back to this, and I don't know if Tina's gonna watch this or not. I don't think you get in any hot water. I might, but being an entrepreneur and then us talking about education, do you find yourself as a father trying to steer your kids, or is it more important for you to just give them an example and let the chips fall where they may? Like, do you find yourself like, maybe school's not, because I find myself doing that, and then I feel a little bit guilty because one of my kids wants to be a scientist, and we know that you have to go to school for that, and I'm just like, school sucks, dude.
Yeah, I will tell you this: I never, because both my parents were in education,
right?
So it was kind of like, it wasn't even an option.
Like college was a grade 13.
Yeah, that's all it was.
13th grade.
I never not thought about going to college. For me, it wasn't even something that I thought twice about.
Right.
Didn't know it wasn't an option. Basically, like
you thought it was part of the process, right?
Basically, that's how it was. So, for me, that's totally different. But here's the thing. Even like my oldest, I've never told her that you shouldn't go to college, right? But I have said, I did have a talk with her like maybe a year or 2 years ago about like, what is it that you would do? Not what you think we want you to do, not what you think grandma wants you to do or whoever, right? What is it that you would do if you could do anything in the world, what would it be that you would do? Like you'd be passionate about. And that's when the acting thing. So I'm like, okay, fine. All right, let's do it. I can't be a hypocrite on it.
Yeah.
I got a backer on it. So all right, then if you're gonna do that, you have 4 criterias. Okay. And Alex knows about this too, because this is what it is. You need to learn communication. You gotta learn and understand business, perfect your craft, right? And then learn investing. Those are the 4 things. So before she got out of high school, she took a communication class at the college. Right. And the great thing is I didn't even tell her to do it. I found out after that she did it. She did communication, there. She took like the e-commerce or economics, class or whatnot. And then she's been investing. She already saves. She's been saving,
right.
But I taught her more about investing. She should open up her own stock accounts and stuff like that. And, she's been doing her thing. Yeah.
Those 4 pillars, would you have given her those 4 pillars regardless of what she chose?
Probably.
Okay.
Yeah.
I knew that was going to be your answer. I just wanted
it wasn't
people to
because
understand the importance of those 4 pillars.
Yeah. That's what it was.
While we're running in 4s. While we're running in 4s right now, man, especially when it comes to building a business, distributing, and wanting to really live your ultimate life, right? Because you only get one of these things.
Vision, right.
And really living the life that you design, right, for yourself. So let's talk a little about these 4 phases.
You're gonna say that.
Let's talk a little about these
not
4
ready
phases,
for that, Alex.
man.
I don't know if they're ready for that.
And
You guys get
let's
these
close
exclusive-
out with that.
Okay.
Let's close out with the 4 phases, man, and talk about really how it came up and what was the realization of how it came about.
So, and this is a good way to probably conclude here because it came to me a few years ago. Some of you guys probably know Tim Grover. He's an animated coach, trainer, all of this stuff, right? So he spoke, and actually, his latest book, he talks about this same exact event, right? When it really came to me, because I was a speaker and I was going to speak after him. That's what it was. I spoke after him, and he's talking to me, and he's like, hey, so, I'm trying to get a feel of the groove in the crowd. And he's like, so what you going to talk about? And I told him what I was going to talk about. And then he goes over there and starts, I'm like, man,
he tried to win your time?
Yeah, he did.
Before you got to do it?
Yeah. I was like,
Timmy.
and then, but it was hilarious because he wasn't in his element, but he talks about it in his new book. He talks about this in his new book. And he said it was the worst speech he's ever given in his life, right? Because he wasn't himself on there, right? And he was trying not to curse and stuff like that. You could tell it was just awkward for him, on there. But obviously, he's got some great principles. I read all his stuff, everything, right? But anyways, going into there, I was like, how do I break this down systematically? Okay, because I thought about duplication. That's the biggest thing. How do I have a business? How do I transfer this belief to everybody else, or this flow? So here's the 4 phases. So if you take a note, if you don't got a pen and paper, I'd stop and get one right now because this is it.
I'm about to drop it on you.
Hey, okay. So 4 phases, right? And I had to put it in a book format, right? That we'll be putting that out before the end of the year. Great friend of mine that I know you guys are gonna have on here pretty soon. Yeah, it would beat me over the head about putting this out and put it on paper. Basically, what I did was put it in the format, and it's 4 phases. Okay, 4 phases to the game. So number 1 is whatever it is you're doing needs to be like a reflex. It needs to be reflexive. So if you're playing basketball, you're learning to dribble a ball, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right, when you first learn to play. Like my son's just started playing basketball, so at first he used to look at the ball. Now he didn't look at the ball when he's dribbling, right? So if someone's trying to take the ball from you, you're going to do what? You're going to react and move. You have to think, I need to move because they're trying to take the ball? No, it's a reaction. It's a reflex, okay? So you do enough repetition, it becomes a reflex, whatever it is, whatever business or whatever it is you're doing. Number 2 is transferring skill and belief to the next person. Duplication. So if you can't transfer the skill and belief to someone else, you don't have a business. You're self-employed. Because that means no one can do what you do. Right?
Right.
That's not a business. Okay. The third is making sure that well, let's back up. When we talk about duplication, because I'm gonna pause here because this is a big issue. Since we're talking about leadership and building, I'm gonna sit on that one for a sec. Okay, so most people they're like, okay, I got myself going, I can do what I do or whatnot, and they might be able to close and maybe able to speak, do whatever it is, but they can't get other people to do the same thing. So their power is limited because it's only stops with them. So the person who learns to get someone else to duplicate now is limitless. Okay. So that's how you got a distribution channel, because there's more than one person knows how to do the deal, right, whatever it is. Okay. So phase 1, we got reflexive. Phase 2 is transferring skill and belief, right? So you got to do the drilling and get the skill and then create and help pour belief, right? Then number 3, phase 3 is increase your network. So therefore you can increase your net worth.
Associations.
Exactly. If you know 9 broke folks, then guess what? You're the 10th one. If you know 9 successful people, then chances are you're the 10th one. Okay. So it's one of those things where as you increase that network and in the direction you want it to go, like you guys are doing this podcast, your network is increased. Your value is increasing, right? You guys have moved in an environment, you know, like me here, where now your income goes up. Your associations are different.
Yep.
Okay. And it should consistently be that. So that's the only way you're going to increase your net worth. Your net worth is automatically going to increase by just having that happen. And then the fourth is power plays. So this is what everybody wants to do. Everybody, like Kevin Hart says it, everybody want to be famous, but nobody want to do the work. Everybody want to be rich and everybody want to have this lavish lifestyle, but they don't want to do the work. Mm-hmm. Okay, so if you don't have those first three together, you can't make power plays. So power plays are things that people make moves that alter the course of not only your life, but others' lives, right? They change the communities. They change the world. You know, Amazon changed the way that people, you know, bought stuff and distribution, Facebook, all these different things. Those were power plays that were made. But they had the other things down. They had whatever they were doing was like a reflex. They knew it like the back of their hand. They were able to transfer belief and skill to somebody else. They increased their network, so their net worth was going up. So they had the resources to make power plays. So right now, that's really what it's about. But if you don't have those first three, you can't do number four because everybody wants to skip to number four.
If he hit you,
didn't mean to miss you.
yeah. No, you're welcome. If he hit you, you're welcome.
You know, said upside the head with it, man.
Yeah.
Upside the head, man. I'm glad we wrapped up with that, man. Because that's it, man. As long as you know those four phases and you're acting on it, and you can't do it out of order. No. If you're doing it out of order, you lose. you know, you be spinning your wheels. Yep. You know, I think a lot of folks do it out of order because they're antsy. You know, they get a little antsy. Maybe they have a little bit of, maybe they have taught maybe one or two people a couple of little things. They might got a couple of things going on, you know, and they, but then they start trying to make power plays, but they haven't started building up their network.
Yep. You got to do the work. One thing I'll say real quick here, doing the work. Sometimes the look of things, people are too focused on the look of things versus the skill. Like someone will, I want to make sure my post and all this stuff looks good. But do you know how to close? Do you know how to actually sell whatever product you're talking about?
Right.
All right. Yeah. So doing the work is a big thing.
I was just going to ask, do you ever stop working on number one? Like even if you got good at 2, right, and you're on phase 2 or even moving to phase 3, you personally and anybody listening who's going to, implement these 4 phases, which I am, but do you ever stop working on 1?
No, because you get more reflexes. You know, more things become more of a reflex. Okay. So just like, okay, you guys are here. Was this part of what you thought you were going to do 5 years ago? Have a podcast right here that's moving up the charts. Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right. That's not what you probably thought 5 years ago.
No.
So this has become, because you guys are real comfortable in these seats. I could tell. Right. Mm-hmm. But because it's becoming a reflex. But it's a new reflex for you because it wasn't one before.
Right.
So next year, before the end of the year here, you're going to have other reflexes. Your abilities to ask questions have increased. Right. If you ask the same questions every single time, then like it gets old. Right?
Yeah, 100%.
You know, so that's the thing. So I would say no. It just may not be the same amount of time on the same exact things, but there'll be new reflexes that are created.
Love it.
You know what? Hey, even Michael Jordan had a coach too.
Yeah.
You know, he worked on his defense he worked on his defensive stats. He worked on his, he probably did a whole bunch of push-ups and sit-ups, but you can always get better at it.
Nope.
But man, this was fire, man. This was fire. So if y'all didn't, man, if y'all ain't take no notes on this, man, I don't know what's wrong with you. I'll be honest. I don't know what's wrong with you if you ain't take notes on this, man. This was legit, man. I don't know if you had any closing statements, man.
Man, no, I agree. I can, piggyback off of that. I think this is one that you should go back and listen to a couple of times for obvious reasons. Actually, I shouldn't say for obvious reasons. Only if you're serious. Only if you're serious about it.
Only if you're committed.
Yeah.
Yep. The interested ones will listen to this one time. The committed ones will have this bad boy on replay over and over and over again.
Exactly.
But man, just want to let everybody know. Remember, please do like, comment, subscribe, share. Tag somebody in this thing, man. That you think that this would benefit. Down there in the comments, man, and we appreciate it. Also, we have some great things coming up. We have some great things coming up. Some great community things for the No Pressure No Diamonds podcast, man, and we will be releasing it very, very soon, man. But without no further ado, no pressure,
no diamonds.
Let's get it.